1. Tama? Kaya ka nag-enroll sa review center, correct? If you would like to really get that spot, that very precious spot of top 1 notcher, this August 2022 licensure examination, children, you have to read the John Bernard Henry book because that is the reference book, especially for clinical chemistry. Okay? Then, of course, Ma'am, wala ko po nung libro na yon. Ma'am, nakita ko siya pero ayaw ko na siyang basahin. Tinitignan ko pala yung kapal. Parang kinukuha na po ako ni Lord, ma'am. Nakita ko lang yung thickness na tinatawag na po ako ng COVID-19. Okay, wag kang mag-alala kasi alam ko naman na ayaw mo makita si McPherson and Pincus, okay? But don't you worry. Part of my lecture is always the latest edition of John Bernard Henry. Of course, I'm using Bishop. That is your textbook, okay? And several other references, TIDES, WHO, CDC, American Association for Clinical Chemistry discussions. Matagal ko na pong napatunayan yan. In fairness, kasama sa board exam. Okay? What else? And, wow, ma'am, ano yung paikot-ikot na yan? Mindset. You will be taking the August 2022 Medical Technologist Licensure Examination. Ima-mindset mo yan. But the mindsetting should be in your heart. Should be in your myocardium. Why? It means you are the first board taker of the new curriculum. Tingnan mo, parang gusto mo na mag-out sa Zoom. Oh, ma'am. You mean this is a challenging exam? Mom, you mean I should study very well? Mom, you mean I should expect things beyond expectations a little bit? So ano ang dapat na sa heart mo? Oh, you are a product of the new curriculum. At alam mo ang nadagdag sa new curriculum, ha? In fact, sabi mo, ano ba yan? Sinabi na nga ng dean namin yan ng college, sinabi pa ng professor sa amin, hanggang ngayon kay ma'am, sasabihin pa rin ni Ma'am Rodriguez, yeah, because bacteriology, virology, hematology, immunology, may molecular biology questions. May subject of molecular biology and diagnostics. Tandaan mo yan, children. I'm referring to those who have the new those who graduated using the new curriculum. You have the molecular biology and diagnostics. Tanong, ma'am, yung mga pinag-aralan po namin doon, saan po siya itatanong, ma'am? Bacteriology, virology, immunology, hematology, lab management, and clinical chemistry. Nako, kahit hindi tayo nagkita-kita, nakikita kita. Sinatanong mo si Lord, Lord, bakit? Malalaman mo yung sagot niya pagdating ng August. Ma'am, ibig mo sabihin, we also have molecular biochemistry. Oh my God, matagal na kung dinidiscuss siya sa clinical chem. So ngayon, ano yung mga topics? Ay, syempre madami. Pero naaral mo na to lahat. Remember, the title of the program here is Review Program. In other words, ang gagawin po natin dito ay we will be discussing the focal points in every chapter or in every major discussion. Focal points such as quality control, analytical methods. Naku, marami tayong pag-uusapan sa analytical methods. Panalong-panalo to. Instrumentation, then patient prep, then specimen collection and handling. Ang una mong ilalagay sa heart mo, Ma'am, I am a product of the new curriculum. Check. And I belong to the pandemic batch. Naman. Ma'am, you mean the specimen collection and handling is so important because the COVID-19 pandemic changed the landscape of the education in the global universe? Yeah. Mom, you mean there are special specimen sample handling, not only in clinical chemistry, that I should study because I should expect that these are some of the questions in this August 2022. Tama. Ay kasi po 2 taon na po tayo nasa pandemic. Carbohydrates and diabetes mellitus, lipids and lipoproteins, plasma proteins, and then renal and hepatic function tests, and enzymology, and electrolytes, and blood gases and pH. In other words, from number 6 to number 12, how do we call that? Pure blood chemistry. These are the clinical correlation topics. Okay. Next, of course, we have the trace elements, we have the micronutrient studies. Naku, matagal na pinag-uusapan niya, pre-pandemic pa lang. Laboratory safety, and remember children, laboratory safety and biosafety. Dito sa clinical chemistry, hindi naman ganun katindi ang biosafety discussion. It is more on virology, mycology, bacteriology, hematology. Mas marami doon, children. Lesser ang sa clinical chemistry. But these are very important points. Endocrinology, therapeutic drug monitoring, and toxicology. O eto, bibigyan na kita ng example, guys. Opening salvo sa endocrinology. Isn't it there is a T3 hormone? True or false? Sige, tinanong ko sa chat box. Meron ba tayong T3 hormone? Yes or no? Y or N? Wala sumasagot. Ay, eto if you cannot verbalize your answer, make sure may sagot ka sa mind mo. Kasi maraming top-notchers, kung face-to-face ito, hindi sila sumasagot, hindi nag-i-imik, nakatingin lang, nagsusulat lang, nakikinig lang, paglabas ng result, board top-notcher 1. Okay, so if you cannot verbalize your answer, I will ask this question again. Do we have a T3, do we have a hormone known as T3 hormone? Meron or wala? Walang sumasagot. Meron. Meron ba T4 hormone? T4 hormone? T4. Meron or wala? Ay, meron. Question. Do we have a T2 hormone? Walang mag-Google search, I will tell you this, children, straight from my scoliotic shoulder. Nung ikaw ay nasa college pa, I am referring to the graduates of the new curriculum. You came from a 50% on-site and you came from a 50% online discussion, learning discussion. Dito ay magbo-board exam ka ng on-site. Wala ka nang i-open na Google search. You are going to take the examination alone, physically and alone. In other words, simula sa araw na ito na nag-uusap tayo, mga kapatid sa paniniwala, lahat ng itatanong ko ay sasagutin mo in 10 seconds and less, and you are going to answer it alone without opening any notes, without opening any browser, because you have to again go back to the traditional learning wherein you have to answer questions physically with a black and white pen and paper. In other words, ma'am, nung nasa college po ako, paminsan-minsan, parang natitempa ako mag-open ng browser. Tapos na yon. Naku po, din, naku, Diyos ko, Lord. Ma, paminsan-minsan, di ko napipigilan yung sarili ko pag nagtatanong po si professor para na-open ko yung browser. That was part of your history. Ngayon, you are going to go back, guys, to your traditional learning. Bakit? Kasi ang board exam natin, physical. You are going to use a pen and a paper. Take note. So, tinatanong kita, without opening a browser. Kasi hindi mo magagamit yan sa board exam. Kaya, ngayon, babalik ka doon sa tinuro sa iyo na ikaw ay nasa first year college at you're going to answer this alone. If there is a T3 hormone, if there is a T4 hormone, do we have a T2 hormone? Alam ko na nasa bayan ng iba, ma'am, ngayon ko lang narinig yan. Okay lang. Ma'am, parang narinig ko sa teacher ko pero hindi ko pinapansin noon. Ngayon, papansinin mo na siya. Ma'am, bakit mo binabanggit yan? Kasi those are important points in preparation for the licensure exam. Of course, questions in the licensure examination are must know, but there are also questions known as nice to know. Ma'am, is it important for us to know that there is a T2 hormone? Hindi ko pa sinasagot kung hormone yan, or enzyme yan, or electrolyte yan, or metabolite yan. Basta tandaan mo, there is a T3 hormone, children, there is a T4 hormone. My question, do we have a T2 hormone? May naisip mo, oo nga. The therapeutic drug monitoring and toxicology. There are 7 important topics. Oops, nakikita mo yung spikes. I call this SARS-CoV-2 virus spike. Spike ang tawag ko dyan bakit may spike ka na? Meron ka pang umiikot na na nucleic acid dyan, ma'am. Kasi uulitin ko sa iyo, children, part of our discussion. Because we are now into the new curriculum, the CMO 13. You are the first graduates, children. Nasa mindset mo, lalagay mo sa heart mo, there are questions about molecular biology also in clinical chemistry. Tandaan mo ang biniling ko sa'yo. You're going to answer all these questions in 10 seconds. Quick and reliable. Do not open any browser, children, because you're going to take exam physically. Continuous discussion with questions from the faculty reviewer. Not only me, lahat kami, no? Follow the paginations. Pakikita mo guys sa PowerPoint slide ko kung anong page yung dinidiscuss ko. Pag walang page, ibig sabihin nun, I will ask you to either copy it or take a photo. Yun lang sinabi ko, ang kukuhanan mo ng picture. Okay, what else? And then answer all the questions that will be posted by the faculty reviewer, not only me. And don't just try, because trying is over. Nung ikaw ay nasa first year to fourth year, nagtatry ka. Ngayon magla-licensure examination ka, the answer should be with absolute reliability. Dito mo maaalala yung iyong dean, yung iyong professors, na paulit-ulit kang binigyan ng challenging questions. And probably some of you were not able to appreciate it. You thought, ano ba yan, pandemic, nang hirap-hirap pa ng exam namin sa hematology, Ma'am Rodriguez. Pandemic, nang hirap-hirap parang clinical bacti, immunology, UBF, clinical chemistry. Because children, we cannot help it. At the end of our learning outcome, there is a licensure examination. Kaya alam ko, hindi ko na kailangan pa magkita tayo. Alam ko pagkatapos nitong review, lalo na pagkatapos ng board exam, maaalala mo lahat ng professors mo na nagtiyaga sa iyong magturo. Maaalala mo lahat ng dean, alala mo ang dean mo, na paulit-ulit kang ine-inspire. Why? Because here in the Philippines, you will not be considered as a medical technologist unless you pass the PRC licensure examination. Ops, bakit quickly? 2 oras lang po ang 100 items. Children ha, pre-pandemic ito, pre-pandemic. Alam ko nababasa mo yan sa FB, sa social media, sa Instagram. Anong sabi? Pre-pandemic, ano ba yan? 2 hours na? Bakit hindi niya natapos yung 100 item questions sa clinical chemistry in 2 hours? The 100 item question naman sa microbiology in 2 hours. Di ba ang tagal-tagal na yon? Children, pag nandun ka na sa actual testing room, yung 30 minutes mo, kinokulate mo pala yung emotional strength mo. Yung 10 minutes mo, kinokulate mo pala yung stability ng gastrointestinal tract mo. So talagang iba-iba tayo, guys. Every person is unique. So anong ibig sabihin nun? Pag ikaw ay nagpi-pre-test ngayon, ikaw ay nagpo-post-test ngayon, and you will take the pre-board examination in Pioneer, you should be able to answer all those questions, ideally in 1 hour. 1 hour and 30 minutes normal. 2 hours na hindi ka pa natatapos sa 100 item, and that is just mock exam. Ibig sabihin nun, you have to control your emotion. Kasi po, ang examination natin ay 2 hours. Ma'am, wala na pong extension ng college po kami. Ma'am, pag hindi namin natapos, nanghihingi pa kami ng extension online. 2 points. Yung faculty nagbigay siya ng extension, ayaw lang niya na maisip mo na hindi ka binibigyan ng consideration. Yung faculty mo na hindi ka binibigyan ng consideration, ngayon mo marirealize bakit he or she does not want to have an extension. Kasi pagdating ng board exam, pag sinabing time's up, pass your paper, 2 hour, no extension. I hope I make myself very clear. Okay? Therefore, walang pirated copies ang aking book. You can do it. Good luck to us. July, August, 2 buwan na lang board exam mo na. Because August is the board exam. July, tama ba ako? Ma'am Edith and Ma'am Jo, ng board exam natin ngayon, August, for the medical technologist licensure examination. Purpose of the clinical laboratory test. Guys, ito purpose to, generally speaking, if this will be asked in bacteriology, in parasitology, in UBF, in HEMA, in histopath, lalo na sa lab management, what is the purpose of every clinical laboratory test, not only in clinical chemistry? Si CBC, urinalysis, pap smear, culture sensitivity, FBS. Ano daw ang purpose ng every single clinical laboratory test? I will let you copy this, no? Gusto mo isulat? Better. Gusto mong kutuhanan ng picture, eto lang slide na to. No, I'm just allowing you this slide. Okay? To evaluate the pathophysiology condition of a patient. Tama. Kung ako, isa lang management dito itatanong. Ano ibig sabihin ng first bullet? Pumunta si patient kay Dr. Doc, parang inom ako ng inom. Napapansin ko parang more than 10 cups, 15 cups a day. Parang sobra pa. As in parang, wow, lagi ko nauuhaw. Sabi ni Doc, excessive thirst, polydipsia. At sika Doc, parang dahil sa inom ako ng inom, parang ihi ako ng ihi. Hindi kaya dahil sa inom ako ng inom, Doc. Polyuria. Hindi umiimik si Doc, polyuria. At saka, Doc, sabi ng patient, parang lagi akong nagugutom. As in. Bakit kaya ganun, Doc? Parang lagi akong, gusto ko lagi kumakain. Sabi ni Doc, polyphagia. Okay, magpa-fasting blood glucose test ka. Because those are the 3 P's of DM. The cardinal signs of DM. To evaluate the pathophysiologic condition of the patient. To assist with diagnosis. Tingnan nga natin kung talagang DM yan. Kung talagang diabetes mellitus, so baka psychological lang yung napifeel mo. To guide or monitor therapy. Naku si patient. Ang taas ng kanyang fasting blood sugar, umabot ng 250 mg per deciliter. And then patient was given medication. And then there was a monitoring test. So ano na ang sabi natin? Tingnan nga natin. Do we need to increase the dose? Therapeutic dose, or we need to lower the therapeutic dose? So that's the purpose of the clinical laboratory test. Ano pa? To assess risk for a disease or progression of a disease. Copy guys, or take a photo only of this slide. Okay? It was extracted from Henry's Clinical Diagnosis and Laboratory Management, 23rd edition, copyright 2017. So pag tinanong ka sa exam, whatever subject, most likely ito ay mafo-fall sa lab management. What is the purpose of every clinical laboratory test? Regardless of section, this is the answer. Okay? What else? And how about, ano ang first discussion natin sa araw na ito? Quality control. Bakit siya ng una? Naku, no college ka, ano to mga pang 4th or 5th topic. Review for the board exam, this is my first topic. Why? Because kailangan magkaintindihan muna tayong lahat, mga kapatid sa paniniwala. What is the meaning of quality control before we go to patient preparation, before we go to analytical methods, patient prep, sample collection? Kailangan makita mo muna kung ano laboratory mo, reliable, before we start a single test. What is the definition of quality control in clinical chemistry? Anong definition ng quality control, guys? Okay? Simply, this is about accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry laboratory. Tandaan natin, children, ha? Quality control is defined in several ways. In clinical chemistry, that is the definition of quality control. It is a system of ensuring, in Tagalog or in Filipino, ano ang sinisigurado mo when it comes to quality control? That there is accuracy and precision in the laboratory. Ma'am, ano po laboratory yan? Clinical chemistry laboratory. So what do you mean by quality control again? It is a system of ensuring that there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry laboratory. Next question. How would I know? Sasabihin sa exam, which of the following choices is correct regarding the accuracy and precision of the clinical chemistry lab? How will you ensure, children, that indeed there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry lab? We have to use, not just use, we have to include quality control reagents in every series of measurements to ensure that there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry laboratory. How can we ensure that? Of course, we should include quality control reagents in every series of measurements. Ibig sabihin, every time you process a sample in clinical chemistry, be it serum, plasma, whole blood, urine, or other biological fluids, every time you process a single sample, make sure you always include a quality control reagents to ensure that there is accuracy and precision in the results that will be produced. Take note. In the results that will be produced. Huwag natin kakalimutan yan. Ops, alam ko tinatanong mo yan ngayon. Ma'am, ano pong example ng quality control reagents? Nako, ilagay mo dyan sa notes mo, kailangan masagot mo yan. Tandaan mo, children, ha? We only have 2 months before your board examination. According to the PERC office, sabi ni Ma'am Edith, August 20 and 21 po ang board exam. In other words, ano ko yun, May 31, June, July, so you only have 2 months to study for the board. Kasi pagdating mo ng August 1, dapat nagko-concentrate ka na lang sa question and answer notes. Wala nang books, wala nang notebook out. It should be Q&A. So ilalagay mo dyan sa notes mo, what are the quality control reagents? Ma'am, bakit ko po kailangang isulat yon? Kasi sasagutin natin yan mamaya. Because if that will be asked in your exam, which of the following are the quality control reagents, is the quality control reagent that should be included every time there is a measurement in clinical chemistry. Eto, tatanungin ko kayo ha, kung board exam ngayong araw na to, at hindi tayo nagkita, ngayong araw na to ay board exam, that is the first question. What is your answer? What are these quality control reagents, or what is this quality control reagent that should be included in every measurement in clinical chemistry to ensure that the results are with accuracy and precision? Ma'am, bakit mo po sabi tinatanong ang quality control reagents? Because in the clinical laboratory, specifically in clinical chemistry, we are not actually allowed to release any single patient result in clinical chemistry, without ensuring our clinical doctors that we included quality control reagents before we release that patient result. Ma'am, ibig mo po sabihin, kahit na ang request ko ay FBS lang, ma'am, FBS lang, kailangan may kasama pang quality control reagents naman. Because the quality control reagents ensure accuracy and precision. Let me say it again. Because quality control reagents ensure the accuracy and precision of the test result. Kaya ang tanong, what are these quality control reagents? Again ha, bago ko sabihin sa iyo yung answer, kailangan may sagot ka. Ma'am, bakit po kailangan ganon? Marami kang makakasalubong na question sa board exam. Sa buong buhay mo, hindi mo siya nabasa. Sa buong buhay mo, hindi mo siya narinig. Sa buong buhay mo, parang hindi mo na pakinggan yung discussion na yun. Children, alam na alam mo ito. What is that subject in the third year? In the third year medtech level. What is that subject in the third year medtech level? Binasa mo maigi yung lecture notes. Binasa mo maigi yung libro. Memorize mo. Pero pagdating mo sa exam, parang iba yung tinatanong. Iba yung mga statements. Iba yung mga words. What is that subject? Clinical chemistry. Why? Because clinical chemistry, my dear students, is always analysis. 70% analysis, 30% memorization. Mag-reflect ka. Oo nga. Ma'am, actually, nung nasa third year ako, ma'am, parang hindi ko love yung teacher ko sa clinical chemistry, ma'am. Slight lang. Kasi pag pagbibigay siya ng quiz, tsaka nagbibigay siya ng exam, ma'am, inaral ko naman lahat. Memorize ko naman lahat, ma'am. Bakit pagdating doon sa exam, parang iba ata yung words, iba ata yung statements, but the choices are so familiar. Yung mga choices, yun yung inaral ko nung college. Pero bakit parang iba yung tanong? Uulitin ko sa you guys. Because clinical chemistry is analysis. So you have to put that in your heart. Insert it into your myocardium. Ano ang mindset mo ngayon? Sabi ni Ma'am Rodriguez, hindi yung nabasa ko eksaktong statement, hindi yung narinig kong eksaktong explanations, yun din ang eksaktong wordings sa clinical chemistry questions sa medtech board exam. True. Ano ang reason? Because clinical chemistry is analysis. That's why tinatanong kita ulit, what are the examples of quality control reagents? Alam ko nung college, sabi mo, ma'am, parang wala namang nabanggit sa amin quality control reagents. Meron. Mamaya malalaman mo. Pero gusto ko mauna kang sumagot sa akin. Because you have to check. Children, review is not sitting and learning it the first time. When you say review, you have to assess your learning when you were in the 3rd year and 4th year. Yan ang ibig sabihin ng review. Binabalikan mo kung ano yung naintindihan mo, kung ano yung naaral mo. Kaya ang isusulat mo dyan sa notes mo, kung ano talaga yung hindi mo pa alam. Ay, ito first time ito. Ay, ito ngayon ko lang narinig. However, the rest na alam mo na, you don't need to write it. Kasi alam mo na yun. Yung foreign, yun ang ilalagay mo sa notes mo. Katulad ng question ko sa iyo. What are the examples of quality control reagents? If that sounds foreign, you place it there. Pag alam mo na yung answer, let us check if we have the same answer. Naku, may nagsulat sa chat box. Eto ha. Miss Naomi Pompa. Oh, huwag niyo siyang i-message. Bakit? Yung answer ni Miss Naomi Pompa, excellent. Direct message. Ma'am, ano po yung sagot ni Miss Naomi Pompa? Hindi ko sasabihin kasi mamaya niya sasabihin niya. Basta nabasa ko yung answer niya sa chat box. Excellent answer. Iha. So therefore, going back, Naomi Pompa. Isa-search mo yan siguro. Ano ba, itsura ko rin Naomi? Okay. So therefore, ano ibig sabihin pa ng quality control? Second definition. What is the first definition of quality control? It is a system of what? Ensuring. Anong sinisigurado mo sa clinical chemistry section? That there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry lab. How would you know that there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry lab? Favorite question niya. How would you know that there is accuracy and precision in the clinical chemistry lab? Because we have included what? Quality control reagents. How did you include it? In every series of measurement. In short, you are not allowed to release any single patient test result in chemistry without ensuring that there is accuracy and precision, without ensuring that you use quality control reagents in every series of measurements. Second definition, ano po ang ibig sabihin ma'am ng QC? Naku, andyan na naman yung word na ensuring. It is a process of ensuring again. Ma'am, ano na naman po ang sinisigurado sa clinical chemistry? That analytical results are correct. Oops, how would you know that analytical results are correct? Nako, this is the answer. Children, tandaan mo to ha. Tatanungin ka sa board exam, which of the following should be considered in confirming that the results in clinical chemistry are all correct? Are all reliable. Anong nakalagay dito? Quality control is the process of ensuring that analytical results are correct. How? By testing known samples. Iisipin mo ulit. Dr. Rodriguez, itatanong mo po ba sa amin, what are the known samples in clinical chemistry? Guys, kung board exam ngayong oras na to, hindi tayo nagkita. Tinanong ka. Matagal nang tinatanong niya sa board exam. Both the local and the international certification exam. What are the known samples in clinical chemistry? There are only 2 samples in clinical chemistry. Dalawa lang po, generally speaking, ang samples sa clinical chemistry. The known samples and the unknown samples. So therefore, nakalagay sa iyo dito, quality control is a process of ensuring that analytical results are correct. Ma'am, ano ibig sabihin ng analytical results? The chemistry results of every patient. Yung binibigay mong resulta sa requesting doctor. Yung binibigay mong resulta sa pasyente. A process of ensuring that analytical results are correct. How would you know that the FBS result is correct? By testing known samples. And how will you describe these known samples? Oh my God, these known samples resemble patient samples. Guys, what are the known samples in clinical chemistry? Walang mag-open ng book. Walang mag-check ng browser. 10 seconds. If that will be asked, halimbawa tayo nakita. That is the question. Naku, laging sinasabi sensei, lalo sa CC1. Kasama yan sa laboratory manual mo. Nandun yan. I'm sure nag-ask kayo ng mga friends ninyo, di ba? Uy, ano ba, nung nag-board exam ka ba ng 2018, 2019, what were the questions? Di ba may mga ganong inquiry? Tama yun para magkaka-idea ka. Okay? Kaya ang tanong ko, what are the known samples in clinical chemistry? And take note, one of the known samples resembles, take note, patient samples. Okay? Ang dami sumasagot ng private message. Okay? What are the known samples in clinical chemistry? Juliana Policar, Bacayana Aliza. And, okay, because the rest answered only one question. Dalawa ang known samples sa clinical chemistry. So the answers of Miss Aliza Bacayana and the answer of Miss Juliana Policar, both correct. Anong answer nilang dalawa? Baka meron pa akong na-miss. And the answer of Crisel, April Manuay, correct. There are two known samples in clinical chemistry. The standard sample and the control sample. The standard sample and the control sample. How do we call them? Known samples. If you will go back to your lab manual, hindi ba children ngayon mo ma-appreciate ang lab manual mo? Di ba sabi mo, ano ba yan, ma'am? Bakit nung nag-pandemic na pinapabaling kami ng mga professors namin ng laboratory manuals? Because that is your review handbook. You will read it again over and over before the licensure examination. Kaya gusto kitang tanungin, nailagay mo ba sa isang e-file folder lahat ng iyong laboratory manuals na ibinigay sa iyo, if it is a soft copy or pinadeliver mo sa house mo na hard copy? Bakit ko tinatanong? Because you have to read that again and again, over and over before the licensure examination. Because, guys, yung ibang tanong sa board exams galing po sa lab manual. Take note of that. So, uulitin ko. Nailagay mo ba sa isang e-file folder lahat ng iyong laboratory manuals? I'm referring to the third year clinical laboratory manuals. Pag sinabi mo, yes, ma'am, congratulations. If you will say, ma'am, nagpo-deliver po ako ng hard copies, congratulations. If you will say, ma'am, nawala ko, bumili ka ulit ng isa. Kasi you have to read it. Why? Again, the answer of your classmates, what are the two known samples in clinical chemistry? There are only two. Ilang beses na yan tinanong sa board exam. What is the answer? Repeatedly, what is my answer? The standard sample and the control samples. The standard sample and the control samples. Ma, bakit yung control may S? Because there are two control samples, isn't it? May I ask you 135 minus kami mga taga-PERC. May I ask the 135 students in the platform, what are the two control samples? 10 seconds. What are the two control samples? Tinatanong kita, guys, mag-board exam ka na, ha? Kaya dito mo ma-appreciate yung lab manuals na kasi narinig ko yan, eh. Alam mo, Dr. Rodriguez, yung ibang students ay bumili ng lab manuals, bakit pa daw? I said they will only appreciate it come review for the board exam, because if they will sit down in my class, I have to ask, do you have your lab manuals with you? Kasi mamayang gabi, bago ka matulog, ay babasahin mo siya ulit para ma-associate yung discussion natin yan. Ang daming sumasagot. Ang tatalino talaga ng mga estudyante. Excellent. Starting from Katrina down to, ang daming sumagot, ha. We have Katrina, and then I will try my best to read them all in the spirit of justice and fairness. We have Katrina and Gabriela Anapta and Rubia Remy, and then we have Pompa Naomi, Juliana Policar, ako baka dark horses yan. And then we have Marjorie Nicole Jimenez and Joan Climaco Eliago and Bacayana and Aries Concepcion, and in fairness, si Aries Concepcion, very specific ang sagot ni Abigail Aries Concepcion. One normal and one abnormal control sample. Amazing. And then we have Maria Loren and Justin Ann and Katrina and Romy still and Aliyah and then Bopi. Okay, yung kay Bautista, mamaya ako sasabihin. In fairness, may sagot dito si Bautista na excellent. Wala pa ako sa tanong na yun, may sagot na siya. Alam niyo ba ang sagot ni Miss Judith M. Bautista? Ma'am, alam ko na dalawa ang controls. It is the normal and it is the pathology control. The pathology control is also known as the abnormal control. Alam niyo ba ang sagot dito ni Judith M. Bautista? Hindi yung control, the sources of controls. Amazing. So going back, what are the known samples in clinical chemistry? The standard sample and the control samples. Ma'am, ibig sabihin po, dalawa ang control samples in every series of measurement. Yes. And how many standard sample in every series of measurement? Isa. Kaya hindi ba, kahit na tayo ay nagkaroon ng virtual laboratory, that probably some of you were able to appreciate. Kawawa naman ang mga professors talaga sa sobrang hirap mag-virtual lab kasi sanay na sanay ang medical technologies professor sa practical, sa residential laboratories children. Mahirap sa amin ang mag-virtual lab kasi gusto namin nakikita ko ano ang ginagawa mo. Can you just imagine your professor, inisa-isa niyang i-check yung lab manual mo online? Amazing. Ops, anong sinabi niya sa'yo? There are how many test tubes? Tanungin ko nga kayo guys. Pagtanungin tayo ng bago ang set of examiners natin. We have a new set of board of examiners. Remember the children. Alam ko nabasa mo na yan. Manually speaking, ito ha, ikaw ang tinatanong ko mag-isa because you're going to answer the question alone. Manually speaking, how many test tubes should be prepared every test measurement in clinical chemistry? Nag-measure ka ng isang sample, isang serum, FBS, or cholesterol, or triglyceride, or uric acid, kahit na anong test, how many test tubes should be prepared every test? Huwag mong kalilimutan yung question na yan. Excellent, Lena Ripule and Juliana Policar, both of them answered 5. Excellent. In fairness, sa 2 seconds pa lang may answer na silang dalawa. We have Lena Repulye and we have Juliana Policar. Alam mo dapat, sir, mami ako lang sasabihin. Going back. 5. Oh, alam ko na, feeling ng iba. Ma, bakit ako parang 3 lang ang alam ko? Hindi, nakalimutan mo lang. Ma, ako parang 6. Sobra yon. Ma, parang 4. Kulang yon. Bakit sila dalawa excellent? Because one test tube is for blank. Di ba naglalagay ka ng blank doon? Nakalagay sa laboratory manual yan. One test tube is for blank. Either reagent blank or distilled water blank. Di ba guys, naririnig mo yan? Reagent blank or distilled water blank. Nandiyan yan sa review book ni Rodriguez. Pangalawa, you're going to label it as standard sample. That is a known sample. What is the third? The test tube for the normal control sample. What is the fourth? The test tube for the abnormal control sample. What is the other name for abnormal control? Abnormal control sample. May mga sumagot kanina. What is the other name for abnormal control? 10 seconds. Excellent. Agustin Veronica and Maria Loren and Marjorie Nicole Jimenez. All of them answered. And also Remy Jane V. Rubia. Ano answered nila? Answer nila. Pathology control. Ma'am, are you saying that the normal control is a non-pathology control? Naman. And the abnormal control is a pathology control? Naman. Pathologic, not pathological, only pathologic. We have the pathology control, which is also known as the abnormal control. And what is the second? The non-pathology control, also known as normal control. Alam ko magsasabi yung iba, ma'am, ang nakalagay po sa book, normal control lang. Wala naman po ako nabasang non-pathologic. That's why clinical chemistry is analysis. In fact, several clinical chemistry books would say abnormal control. Pagdating mo sa licensure exam, wala ka makikita abnormal control. Pathology control. So mag-a-analyze ka. Ma'am, are you saying the normal control, non-pathology control, the sources are perceived healthy sources? Of course. And the abnormal control, the pathology control, the sources of that abnormal control, the sources of that pathology control, are those with diseases or illnesses? Of course. That's why we call them pathology controls. Do not forget that. So going back again, there are two known samples in clinical chemistry. We have the standard sample and we have the control samples. In every series of measurements, if that is a manual method, every test, every sample, one test, 5 test tubes. Ano po yun manually? The blank, the standard tube, the normal control tube, the abnormal control tube, and finally, your patient sample tube. So how many children? 5. Take note. So in those 5 tubes, ilan ang known samples? 2. Ano ulit yon? The standard, apps, at ano pa yung isa? Controls. O isipin mo na naman, sabi mo 2, bakit controls? Kasi 2 ang subdivisions ng controls. Ano yon? May normal control sample at saka meron kang abnormal control sample. So how do we describe the two? Known samples. Kaya pagka sa exam, guys, nakita mo sa question, this known sample, oh my God, close your eyes and think only of 2 known samples. We have the standard sample and we have the control samples. Ma'am, bakit mo lagi nilalagyan ng S yung control samples? To emphasize that there are 2. The normal and the abnormal. Take note. What else? So how do we describe the two? And how do we differentiate the 2 known samples? The standard sample is always measured together with your unknown sample. Obviously, kasi 5 ang test tubes, okay? The standard sample is always measured together with your unknown sample. What else? And the standard sample is always considered the most specific known analytical sample. The standard sample is always considered the most specific known analytical sample. Ma'am, bakit po siya tinawag na most specific known analytical sample? Mamaya pagkatapos ng, wag mo pagsasabayin guys Ma'am, pwede bang i-open ko na ngayon yung e-file folder ko ng mga lab manuals? No, kasi kailangan nakafocus ka dito sa review. Mamaya mo na gawin yan. Maglagay ka ng notabili sa book mo. I have to check my e-file folder to read again the activity on quality control. Ganun ang ilalagay mo sa notes mo. So what is standard sample? It is the most specific known analytical sample because for every vial, ganyan lang po kaliit yan kasi nga hindi tayo nag face-to-face, sa picture mo lang nakita. For every vial of standard sample, regardless of the test, for every vial of standard sample, it contains only 1 analyte. So therefore, if let's say, ang nakalagay po dyan sa standard sample vial, ang nakalagay pong label ay cholesterol, anong expectation natin? The analyte inside that standard sample vial is cholesterol. If the label says triglyceride, therefore, the only analyte present in the standard sample vial is triglyceride. So ano ulit ang description ng standard sample? That is the most specific known analytical sample. Next question, why do we have to use standard sample in every series of measurement? In fairness 5 ang test tubes mo. Every time na magme-measure ka may standard sample. Why? Well, remember, alam ko maaalala mo to pag sinabi ko kung bakit. Because the value of the standard, after computation, guys, the value of the standard is after reading it using the spectrophotometer, the value of the standard sample, which is achieved after reading the standard sample, you transfer it to a cuvette, and then that cuvette is the sample holder, and you're going to place it manually into the spectrophotometer, and the spectrophotometer will read the concentration of the standard sample. After reading the concentration of the standard sample, di ba nakalagay sa lab manual mo yan, hindi kasi natin na-perform ng practical, Anong sasabi sa lab manual? You need to record the value of the standard sample after reading it using the spectrophotometer. Ang tanong, ma'am, importante ba na i-record namin ang standard sample value? Naman, because the value of the standard sample is very important for the calculation of the concentration of the unknown. Because the value of the standard sample is very important for computing the concentration of the unknown. Children, hindi ba ang laman ng ating clinical chemistry laboratory manual ay puros computation? And what is the formula if we would like to determine the concentration of the unknown sample? Write it, please. The formula for the concentration of the unknown, capital C is small letter U. Capital C is small letter U. That is the concentration of the unknown. Is equivalent to absorbance of the unknown. Capital A is small letter U. Absorbance of the unknown over absorbance of the standard over absorbance of the standard, take note, and in between the absorbance of the unknown over the absorbance of the standard, in between, you put times concentration of the standard. Again, the concentration of the unknown is equivalent to absorbance of the unknown over absorbance of the standard times concentration of the standard. Ma'am, bakit po kailangan namin ito malaman? Guys, that is the formula that we need to get the concentration of the unknown. And the product, guys, the value that is, take note, achieved after computing, yung value na makukuha mo after computing using that formula, that is the patient result. So ano ang nasa mindset mo? Ma'am, yung nire-release po naming resulta sa mga pasyente, if this result came from clinical chemistry, which are all numbers, ma'am, ay galing po sa formula na yan, check. Do not forget that it came from that formula. So going back again, tignan mo yung formula. Ma'am, sabi mo isa lang po ang test tube for standard. Tama. Bakit magdalawa po ang values ng standard? Tama na naman tanong niya. We have to be very specific. Children, tatanungin ko kayo kahit na ang laboratory mo ay virtual lang kasi wala tayong face-to-face ng laboratory ng third year. Children, between the AS, which is absorbance of the standard, and the CS, which is the concentration of the standard, which between the two standard values, take note, came from your standard sample test tube that you measure when you transfer that sample into that cuvette and use the spectrophotometer. Kung hindi tayo nagkita ngayon at magtatanong po ang ating Board of Examiner ng basic question sa clinical chem, isa yan sa pwedeng itanong na basic question. In the computation of the concentration of the unknown, there are two values for standard. But we only have one standard sample test tube. Ang tanong, yung value na galing dyan sa standard sample test tube mo, saan mo po ilalagay yan? Is it over AS? Or is it over CS? Or is it both? Alam ko na ang sasabihin mo, ma'am, parang wala po akong nabasang ganyan sa clinical chemistry book, ma'am. Alam mo, maiintindihan kita because clinical chemistry is analysis. Hindi niya sinabi verbatim, straight to the point, na the value from this standard sample test tube will go to the AS or the CS. Wala siyang sinabing gano'n. Pero, paulit-ulit in-explain niya sa Beer's Law. Remember the children. So, ang tanong, where will you place that value coming from the standard sample tube? The answer of Miss Juliana Policar is excellent. What is the answer of Juliana Policar? Absorbance of the standard. So therefore, the value that you obtain after reading the standard sample using the spectrophotometer, ladies and gentlemen, pag sinabi nating spectrophotometric measurement, what are the two lights? Ilaw. Two lights that should be considered every time you are using spectrophotometer. May dalawang lights tayong pinag-uusapan. The light that is absorbed by the solution, specifically by the analytes in the solution, and the light that passes through the solution, isn't it? And the light that is absorbed by the analyte present in the sample is your absorbance. And the light that passes through the solution is your transmittance. So obviously, that is absorbance of the standard. So ang tanong ulit, tatanungin mo pa rin ako, syempre sasagutin ko yan, ma'am, saan po nanggaling yung value ng CS? CS is a constant value. Let me say that again. CS, or concentration of the standard, is a constant value. Guys, halimbawa lang naman ito ha. Tanungin ka sa board exam this August, very simple question. What is the meaning of CS in the calculation of the unknown? If you would like to calculate the concentration of the unknown sample, what is the meaning of the CS? Concentration of the standard. Hindi constant standard. That's incorrect. It is concentration of the standard. And how will you describe the concentration of the standard? That is a constant value. So kung constant value yan, ma'am, saan po namin nakuha si constant value? Di ba children, balikan mo yung lab manual mo. Hindi ba laging may nakalagay na lab manual? This is the concentration of the standard. Ma'am, if ever face-to-face po kami nag-laboratory, Dr. Rodriguez, saan po namin makikita yung concentration of the standard? Eto ha, imaginary mo lang ito. Kung halimbawa ito, no, halimbawa, wala akong vial dito na hawak. Dapat pala may hawak na rin akong vial. Halimbawa, vial ito. Vial, vial ng standard. Makikita mo dun sa label. Nasa outside yung external. Makikita mo sa label ng standard. Example, 100 milligram per deciliter sa label ng standard. Oh, that is the concentration of the standard. So, ibig sabihin, ma'am, isa lang talaga ang test tube namin for standard sample. Tama. Because the CS is a constant value. Going back. So, what is the purpose of the standard sample again? Well, the value of the standard sample is so important for the calculation of the concentration of the unknown. Just imagine, if you do not have standard sample, then you cannot release any result in clinical chemistry because it requires standard sample. Do not forget that. And it is considered the most specific analytical, known analytical sample. Why the most specific known analytical sample? Because for every vial of standard sample, it only contains one analyte. Ay, kaya pala ma'am, the concentration of the standard is really constant because it is only one value. Correct. That's why it is the most specific known analytical solution. How about the control samples? When you say control samples, whether it is normal control sample or the abnormal control sample, the abnormal control sample is also known as the pathologic sample. Pagsamahin mo silang dalawa, isa lang ang purpose nila at description. What is that? It is also measured together with your unknown sample, just like the standard sample. The control samples are also measured together with the unknown sample. What else? And remember that the values of the control samples, both the normal and the abnormal control samples, the values are important in determining if the test, take note, has accuracy and precision. It is important in determining if the assay, if the test procedure has accuracy and precision. I'm sure in your discussion, in your online virtual discussion, it was emphasized many times, though it is only virtual laboratory, that if the result of the quality control test is in control. Maririnig mo yan pag nasa practice ka na. In control, ano ibig sabihin nun? We should release the result. If the result of the quality control test is out of control, meaning outside of the desired values for the controls, you have to hold the test and repeat the testing. So therefore, the values again of the control samples will tell us, will tell the medical technologist, will direct the medical technologist if the patient test result will be released or will be held and repeated. Tandaan natin yan, guys. So ano ibig sabihin nun? Ma'am, are you saying that the control samples are very powerful, known analytical samples? Oh, yes. Because the control samples will tell you if the patient results are reliable and if it should be released to the requesting physicians. Take note of that. So going back, meron ka pang isa tatandaan. Alam ko gusto mo itong itanong. Ma'am, di ba si standard sample, most specific, known analytical sample? Because it only contains one analyte. How about control samples as to number of analytes? The control samples, always remember, contained several known analytes. Again, the control samples, be it normal control, or abnormal control, or pathologic control, remember, contain several known analytes. Pag sinabing known, may values yun. Kaya several known analytes. Remember, which between the two known samples, very important, so we can determine the concentration of the unknown. The answer should be the standard sample. If you would like to determine if this patient test result should be released to the requesting physician, that is the purpose of the two control samples, to determine accuracy and precision. Remember that. So going back to the meaning of quality control, ano ang pangalawang meaning ng QC? It is a process of ensuring that analytical results are correct. Ma'am, anong ibig sabihin ng analytical results? Patient results are correct. Ma'am, paano namin masasabi na yung FBS result tama? Or cholesterol, or triglyceride, or enzymes, or electrolytes? How would we know it is correct and reliable? Well, because we tested known samples together with the patient sample, because we tested known samples together with the patient samples. And what are the known samples that are tested together with the patient samples? Nako, dalawa yan. Ano yung una? Standard sample. Ano yung pangalawa? Control samples. Bakit na naman may S control samples? Dalawa kasi sila. In separate test tubes. Ano yung isa? The normal control. Ano yung pangalawa? The pathologic control. Question. Which between the two known samples ensure that the patient test result is correct? Is it the standard sample? Is it the control samples? Or both? Kung hindi tayo nagkita ngayon, children, what is your answer? Bibigyan kita ng tip kung medyo, Ma'am, parang nakakalito. Si standard ba o si control samples will ensure that analytical results are correct, that patient test results are correct. The standard or the control samples or both. What is the answer? Take note of that. Well, kung hindi mo mailagay sa chat box yung answer mo, Ma'am, nahiya ako, Ma'am, baka mali ako. The correct answer, the answers of Naomi Pompa, Maria Maria Charisma Ferl Ceballos. The answer of Christian Joshua Tabunot. Ano yung answer nilang, direct message to. Ano yung answer nila ni Christian at saka ni Christian Tabunot at saka ni Maria Charisma. Ang hirap na banggitin ng mga pangalan ng bata. Ferl Caballos at saka yung answer ni Naomi Pompa. Ano yung answer nilang tatlo? The control samples. Not the standard, never both, but only the control samples. Oops! Bakit silang tatlo ang sagot nila control samples? Kasi may description po yung known samples. Ano nakalagay dito? When you say quality control, it is a process of ensuring that analytical results are correct, that patient test results are correct. How? By testing known samples. And how will you describe these known samples that will always ensure that the patient test results are correct? How will you describe these known samples? Oh my goodness, they resemble patient samples. They resemble patient samples. Guys, what is the most commonly used patient sample in clinical chemistry? The most commonly used patient sample in clinical chemistry, 10 seconds. Serum, excellent. I will not accept blood. Kasi ang blood, dalawa ang liquid portions. We have the serum and we have the plasma. My question is the most commonly used sample. So what is the answer? Serum. So simple lang po ang tanong. Sino po ang medyo kamukha ni serum sample sa dalawang known samples? Si standard o si control? Yun ang ibig sabihin niya. By testing known samples that resemble patient sample. In short, dalawa ang iyong known samples. Meron kang standard at saka meron kang control. Ang tanong, sino sa dalawang yan may kamukha ang iyong serum? What is the answer? Control samples. Next question. Mom, what is the resemblance of the known sample and this serum? Children, there are, sabi nga natin, ano ang kanilang pinagkakamukha? Okay. Kasi hindi tayo nag-face-to-face, so hindi natin nakita yung actual appearance of control sample. Meron ba ditong part ng old curriculum? Meron bang nagre-review ngayon sa PERC, which is part of the old curriculum? Kasi kung part ka ng old curriculum, nag-face-to-face ka. Nakita mo yung actual appearance ng serum. Okay? Wala. Mukhang wala yata, puro kayo product ng new curriculum. Meron ba ditong part ng old curriculum? Okay, so ito guys ay meron sumagot. Ako po! Okay. Thank you for the acknowledgement. May mga nag-raise ng hands in fairness. O yung mga nag-raise ng hands na part ng old curriculum, kung ikaw ay nag-actual clinical internship, or actual laboratory activities during third year, actual laboratory activities. What is the color of control samples? Be it normal control, be it pathological control, what excellent Marjorie Nicole Jimenez. Hindi ko alam kung si Marjorie ay old or new curriculum. Marjorie Nicole Jimenez and Ray Mark Magleo, excellent. And even, old daw si Miss Jimenez. Thank you so much for acknowledgements, Miss Marjorie Nicole, okay? And also Judith Bautista. The answer of Repuli Lena, Marjorie Nicole Jimenez, Ray Mark Magleo, Judith Bautista, and then Judith Bautista again. Ano daw ang color ng control, guys, for every all? Yellow. Yellow po ang color ng control samples. Ke normal, ke pathology control. Next question. Those who answered yellow color is the color of the control samples, be it normal control or pathology control. Ikaw lang ang makakasagot nito. Share it with your Zoom mates. If let's say, for example, hypothetical, meron kang human serum na hawak-hawak in a test tube, human serum in a test tube, unlabeled. Minatch mo ang unlabeled control, be it normal control, be it pathology control, unlabeled. children, malilito ka ba? Mako-confuse ka ba? Which one is the human serum and which one is the control sample? Those who answered yellow color for the control. If let's say you will have a human serum on your left hand and then you have your control sample o other hand, minatch mo sila, parehong unlabeled, nakalagay sa test tube, will you be confused which is the human serum and which one is the control sample? Well, actually, if it is normal control, normal control versus the human serum, lalo na kung healthy human serum, malilito ka because they have the same appearance. They have exactly the same yellow color. And if you're going to check them visually, it seems they also have the same consistency. Ang tanong ay bakit parang pareho mang ang control, appearance, at saka ang human serum? Because there are two sources of control. Di ba sabi ko sa you guys, yung isa mong Zoom mate kanina, ang in-answer niya yung sources, hindi kung what are the known samples. You have one classmates, you have one Zoom mate here who answered the sources. Judith Bautista. Excellent. Nakuha ko na yung pangalan niya. Because there are two sources of controls. Write it please. Bakit yellow color ang control? Because there are two sources of control. Why is it that the human serum resembles, human serum resembles known sample, resembles control samples? Bakit? Because there are two sources of control samples. What is the base? What is the first? Number one, human base control sera. Sera, plural of serum samples. Human-based control sera. Mga ibig sabihin ng human-based control sera? Ito ay ano lang to, hypothetical. Lahat tayong nasa Zoom, kinuha na ng blood, allow it to clot, centrifuge, extract the serum, then all the serum samples or human sera were pulled, pinagsama-sama into a big test tube. Can we say and can we consider that as a human-based control sera? What is the answer? Check. Provided the criteria should be met. What are the three criteria that should be strongly followed so that we can create a human-based control sera? Non-infectious, non-ecteric, and non-hemolyzed serum samples. Again, non-infectious, non-ecteric, non-hemolyzed serum samples. Ano ibig sabihin ng guys? Ay, hindi ka pwedeng magsama ng hemolyzed sa pooled, hindi ka pwedeng magsama ng ecteric sample sa pooled sera, hindi ka din pwedeng mag-add ng infectious serum. Remember that. So in other words, we can create and we are allowed to create a human pooled control sera provided the serum samples should be non-infectious, should be non-ecteric, and should be non-hemolyzed. Pag sinabi natin non-infectious, well, alam mo na nga yung pandemic ang ibig sabihin, should be negative from other potentially infectious and infectious, negative from any viral or bacterial sources that can elicit spread of infection. Second, it should be non-ecteric. Guys, pag sinabing ecteric, that sample is ecteric. What is that sample? What is a sample that can be described as ecteric? Kung sinabi, uy, ecteric yung sample na yan. Anong sample yun? Urine ba yun? CSF? Peritoneal fluid? Naku, nasa clinical chemistry yan, guys. Mamaya ma-encounter mo sa board exam, this ecteric sample, naku, pipikit ka, iisipin mo, naku, pag ecteric sample, eto yun. So may I ask, what are the samples in clinical chemistry that can be described as ecteric? Because not all samples can be described as ecteric. Hindi lahat ng samples ay gagamitan mo ng terminology na ecteric. So what are the samples in clinical chemistry that can be and of course, acceptable to be described as ecteric? Alin-alin yun? Pag sabi na, yung sample na hinahawakan mo na, ecteric yan. Isipin mo, ay ano kayang sample to? Is it urine? Is it CSF? Is it peritoneal? Is it pericardial? What is the answer? Serum and plasma. Only serum and plasma should be described as ecteric. And what do you mean by ecteric? What is the color of that serum and plasma? Bakit sinabi na nakuha, yung serum at saka plasma na hawak-hawak mo, ecteric yan? So what do you mean by that? What is that color that says ecteric serum or plasma? Kasi sinabi, di ba, if you want to create a human-based control serum, make sure you don't add an ecteric serum. You don't add an ecteric serum. So ano ibig sabihin ng ecteric serum? Anong color ng serum na yun? Naku, walang mag-Google search ha. That is a common terminology, children. Pre-pandemic pa lang, tinuturo na lagi yan ng mga professors sa school. Kaya di ba ang clinical chemistry mo, may quiz ka na terminologies. Tinatanong sa quiz mo ng college, which of the following is described as ecteric? Ecteric means dark yellow to orange color. Kapag nakakita ka ng serum o kaya ng plasma, na ang color ng serum or kaya plasma, dark yellow or orange. Dark yellow or orange. Anong tawag mo sa serum at sa plasma na yon? Ecteric serum, ecteric plasma. Because the normal color of human serum is light yellow to yellow. If the color of the serum or plasma turned dark yellow to orange, how do we call that sample? Ecteric. Next question. What is that biological analyte, biochemical analyte present in your blood and my blood that if the concentration of that biochemical analyte turned more than the allowed maximum concentration, your plasma, your serum will turn ecteric. What is the answer? Miss Bacayana, Miss Gail Floresta, Kimberly Bote, and Judith Bautista, they all answered, and Grisel April Manuay, they all answered what? Bilirubin. Ma'am, are you saying bilirubin is a chromogenic analyte? Aha. Hyperbilirubinemia is also known as icterose. Ladies and gentlemen, if the total bilirubin concentration, total, I'm referring to total, bilirubin concentration in your plasma right now exceeds 2.0 milligram per deciliter, ano ang mapapansin mo sa iyong skin? It will turn what? Again, if the total bilirubin concentration right now, hypothetical lang yan, sa plasma mo o sa plasma ko, naging more than 2 milligram per deciliter, I'm referring to total bilirubin, I said, it exceeds more than 2 milligram per deciliter. Anong mangyayari sa skin mo? Anong mangyayari sa iyong eyes? It will turn what? Jaundice. So that is the reason why it will turn jaundice. What is jaundice? Your sclera, your skin will turn yellow, intense yellow. How do we call that? Jaundice. And hyperbilirubinemia is also known as icterose. Ibig mo sabihin, ma'am, pag dark yellow to orange ang serum, hindi po siya pwedeng isama sa pooled serum in creating control samples. Yes. What is the third? It should be non-hemolyzed. Non-ecteric, non-infectious, non-hemolyzed. If you would like to create a human-based control serum, what is the second source? Bovine-based control serum. Bovine-based control serum. Ano ibig sabihin ng bovine? Animal source. Ano yung mga animals na yon under bovine? We have the cow, the goat, the sheep. Ma'am, ibig sabihin, pag kinuhanan po natin ng blood, si cow, o kaya si goat, at saka si sheep, and we use their blood samples, serum samples, ma'am, as controls, pwede natin gamitin sa clinical chemistry talaga? True. Take note of that. There are two sources of control samples, normal or pathologic. We have the human-based control sera and we have the bovine-based control sera. In fact, because of biohazard considerations, lalo na itong situation natin, talaga nagkatotoo na ano, because of biohazard considerations, Mostly we use what? Bovine control sera. Alam ko itatanong mo ito. Ma'am, ibig mong sabihin yung pulled cow's sera or goat pulled sera or the sheep pulled sera should be non-infectious, should be non-ecteric, and should also be non-hemolyzed? Yes. But there are two sources. Ibig mo sabihin, ma'am, si human-based control sera, yellow color? Yeah. And the bovine control sera is also colored yellow? Yes. And are you telling us, ma'am, that the biochemical analytes present in human blood, in human serum, same biochemical analytes present in goat, in sheep, and in cow? Yes. Remember the rule, guys, in clinical chemistry. Only those control samples which resemble human serum can be used as quality control reagents. Let me say it again. Only those control samples with, take note, biochemical analytes, same in human serum, can be utilized as quality control reagents. Ibig mo sabihin, ma'am, ang goat, ang sheep, at saka cow, may enzymes, may cholesterol, may glucose, may uric acid, bilirubin, katulad ng nasa human. Isn't it that we can even eat the flesh of these animals? We can even drink the milk of these animals simply because humans and these bovines, same biochemical makeup. Amen? Ibig mo sabihin, ma'am, yung blood nila meron din glucose, cholesterol, uric acid, enzymes, ganon? Check. Ibig mo sabihin, ma'am, si goat, si sheep, si goat, sino ba yung isa? Check. Isn't it we can even eat their flesh, the meat of these animals, and even drink their milk with no biochemical revolutions inside our body because we have this, because of the biochemical makeup. Pareho po. That's why there are two sources of controls. We have the human base and the bovine base. Ma'am, bakit po sinabi nating abnormal control? Ibig sabihin, ma'am, the sources are diseased individuals and animals? Check. So if you will compare the normal control with the pathologic control, i-compare mo sila, yung color ng pathologic control, darker yellow compared to the normal control. Ma'am, bakit darker yellow? Because the bilirubin is higher if that is pathologic control. Take note of that. It came from animals with illnesses, and it also came from abnormal human samples. Oops, meron akong binilin sa'yo. May 3 criteria, children, if you would like to create your own control samples. Non-infectious, non-ecteric, non-hemolyzed. Ma'am, yung non-infectious ba? Yun lang yan kasi pandemic. Naku, matagal mo. Pa tayo pinapanganak? Silang 3 criteria ng children. Non-infectious, non-ecteric, non-hemolyzed. So tatanungin ka ulit sa board exam. This known sample resembles human serum. Oh, you only have one answer. What is the answer, children? This known sample resembles human serum. What is the answer? Because there are 2 known samples. You have your standard sample and then you have your control samples. What is the answer? Control samples. Excellent, Carlos, Katrina. Ma, para pag pinaghiwalay sa choices, merong normal control, merong pathologic control. Hindi po paghihiwalayin yan. Kung paghihiwalayin yan, because more type po ang iyong exam. Number 1, standard. Number 2, normal control. Number 3, pathologic control. A1 only, 2B only. Letter B, 2 only, letter C, 1 and 2, letter D, 2 and 3. Ganyan po ang Morse type. Pag pinaghiwalay silang dalawa, syempre answer mo si normal at saka si pathologic. Pero kung A, B, C, D lang, what is your answer? Control samples. What is the greatest resemblance between your control samples and your human serum? The biochemical analytes. What is the second? The color of your serum and the color of your control samples. Why is it they have the same color? Because of the sources, the human base and the bovine. O baka i-extend mo yung question, yung mga nakapag-actual laboratory activity, Anong appearance ng standard sample? Is it also yellow? Excellent, Raymark Magleo. The standard sample, regardless of the test, is always colorless. Excellent, Raymark Magleo. It is always colorless. Do not forget that. At tandaan natin, si standard sample then ay known. However, how many analyte is always present in a standard sample? How many analyte compared to your control samples? One analyte. So it is the most specific known analytical sample. And how many analyte, guys, is present in a control sample? Be it normal, be it pathologic, ilang analytes naman ang present sa control samples? Anong answer natin? Several analytes. Bakit several analytes na naka-express na naman yung S? To always remember that there are two sources of controls. Human-based, several biochemical analytes. Bovine-based, several biochemical analytes. But which between the two known samples will tell you that the results should be released, that the results should be forwarded to the requesting physician, that the results are definitely correct, which between the two known samples will guide the medical technologist that the results should be released? What is the answer? The standard, the controls, or both? The standard, the controls, or both will tell you that results are correct. Will always tell you that results are with accuracy and precision. The answers of Robia Remy Jane and Maria Crisma Ferl Ceballos and iPad, I love it, and iPad, and Cabrera Rafael, I hope I pronounced it right, and Kaisel John Fernandez, and Justin Ann Amar, and Judith Bautista, and Bakayani Aliza, and Kimberly Bote, and John Kenneth Suarez. Anong answer nila? Tinanong ko, guys, okay? What particular known sample will always tell you that patient results are correct, that you have to release it to the requesting physician, that the doctor is waiting, and don't worry, that result is with accuracy and precision. It will ensure you as a medical technologist. What is the answer? Control samples. Never the standard, the control samples, because the purpose of the standard is for the concentration of the unknown, to get the concentration of the unknown, the value of the test, the concentration of the test. So therefore, ano pang tatandaan mo sa QC? Ginabi na tayo, children. The quality control also monitors analytical errors. Children, kung hindi tayo nagkita ngayon, ha, kailangan mabilis na tayo mag-isip ngayon. Kaya nga sabi ko sa'yo, ma-appreciate mo ang professors mo ngayon who trained you exceedingly, who gave you countless quizzes during nitong 2 years ago. I'm sure ayaw mo sa kanya. Naku, baka bababa pa ang faculty evaluation niya. Oh my God, that person helped you a lot. Okay? Eto ha, tatanungin kita, children, na walang mag-open ng browser. Sabi ko sa'yo, close it. It won't help you this board exam. What are the two types of analytical errors in clinical chemistry? Kung hindi tayo nagkita ngayon, tinanong ka sa exam, that's one of the fundamental questions in Chem. Which of the following is an analytical error? A, B, C, or D? Excellent, Raymark Magleo, and Crizel Manuway, and Bakayani Aliza. Anong answer nilang tatlo? Just ko 1 second lang, may answer na silang tatlo. And may humabol pa. And also Naomi, and also Inyon, May, and they all answer excellently. Random error and systematic error. Do not ever forget that. The random error and systematic error, and Chrysel John Fernandez. Excellent. The random error and systematic error. Oops, alam ko tatanungin mo. Mom, di ba may examples yun? Of course, ibibigay ko sa'yo mamaya. Ay, isa lang ang nasa mind mo. Oops, sinabi ni Mom. There are two major types of analytical errors in clinical chemistry. Of course, the random and systematic error, and that is monitored by quality control. And therefore, What are the parameters of quality control? Tingnan mo yung book mo, may mga parameters dyan. What is the first? Sensitivity. Naku, Diyos ko Lord, pre-pandemic. Sabi nila, naku, alam mo po, Dean, tinanong po anong ibig sabihin ng sensitivity. In analytical method, ay syempre, tingnan mo yung nakalagay na meaning. What is sensitivity? It is the ability of the analytical method. Ay, sino po dapat ang sensitive? Ano po dapat ang sensitive? Anong answer natin, children? It's there, very simple. Analytical method. Take note. It is the ability, sensitivity is defined as the ability of the analytical method to measure the smallest concentration of the analyte of interest. That's why, alam ko nung nasa third year ka, fourth year, naku, ngayon ka na nagre-reflect, kaya pala tinanong yan sa quiz ko, no? Di ba meron kayong definition of terms? Naku, alam ko, masama ang loob mo sa clinical chemistry professor mo. 1 to 20, sabi niya, quiz online, inuurasan ka pa. Naku, sama na naman ang loob. Sulat ka sa dean, dear dean, this faculty is too much. No, inconsiderate, blah, blah, blah. Magbo-board exam tayo ngayon. Kaya alam niyo ba, sa totoo lang guys, no, I have so much heart for the faculty of, so much heart for the faculty of those programs with licensure examinations. Bakit? Kasi nape-pressure sila. Kasama ako doon. Bakit? Kasi we have to balance between the pandemic and the requirements for the licensure exam. Kaya tignan mo, children, kung magre-reflect ka, tiniis lahat ng iyong professor, lahat ng negative comments, nagkakasakit na rin sila, nagkaka-emotional breakdown na sila, lagi nilang tinatanong, bakit hindi ako maintindihan ng aking mga students? Magbo-board exam sila sa 2022. Anong sinabi sa'yo? Do not forget the meaning of sensitivity. Sensitivity in clinical chemistry, what is that? The ability of which? The analytical method. Siya ang sensitive. And ano dapat ang analytical method? Always provide the smallest concentration of the analyte of interest, also known as detection limit. Next, what is the partner of sensitivity? Specificity. Di ba sabi din ng professor mo sa Clinical Chemistry 1, guys magka-partner silang dalawa. Tanong, what factor in the whole clinical chemistry should be specific? Ma'am, sabi mo kanina sa clinical chemistry, dapat po si analytical method ang sensitive. Check. Alin dapat ang specific? Si analytical method din. Kaya tignan mo guys yung book mo. Anong nakalagay dyan? Specificity is defined as the ability. Ay, sino dapat ang may kakayahan daw na specific siya? It is the ability of the analytical method, again, to measure only the analyte of interest. To measure only the analyte of interest. Alam ko itatanong mo to, Ma'am, ano pong ibig sabihin ng analytical method? Kaya alam nyo, guys, probably you would say, Ma'am, bakit ikaw lang po ang naka-online? Lahat po ng professors namin sa Pioneer on-site. It goes with my age. I am the oldest. Ay, hindi pala. Sinabi pa, Dr. Yolo and then myself. Sila kasi guys, mga bata pa sila. We are already in the geriatric age. Although it doesn't show much, okay? That's the Pero ipapromise ko sa iyo yan. Magkikita tayo sa sa on-site. I'm trying my best Sana wala nang magkakasakit, 'di ba? I'll really be giving nakikinig ba si Sir? Andito ba si Sir Ryan Moraleta? Sir Ryan, probably in my entire lecture for example, every batch, I will go to Pioneer probably yung last lecture, mga something like that. Hindi itong batch na to yung susunod na batch. No, I will have one on-site lecture, probably the last part, no? Para makita nila ako ng on-site. And then yung last part na yun. So going back again, Ma'am, alin po yung June F to F po? June Sir Ryan, yung isang lecture ko yung huli, so that they would see me, no? Kaya para po makita nila ako, Sir Ryan. July 4 po, check. I'll be there present, alive and kicking. Okay? Alam ko na gagawin ni Buloy, i-sterilize yung room. I-sterilize yung microphone. I love you, Buloy. I miss you. Going back. O, alam ko natatanong, ma'am, ano po yung analytical method ba? Please help us. O, relax. Kung face-to-face to nakikita ko na yung expression niyo lahat. Children, sensitivity means that analytical method should be able to measure the smallest concentration of the analyte of interest. And specificity is what? That same analytical method should only measure that analyte of interest. Ma'am, ano pong components ng analytical method? Write it, please. The analytical method, there are 3 components. The reagent, the equipment, and the procedure. Again, what do you mean by analytical method, children? The reagent. Naku, tatanong mo yun sa pre-pandemic, guys. The equipment and the procedure. Alam ko na ang nasa heart mo. Mom, Dr. Rodriguez, paano yan? Bago po yung Board of Examiners. Ma'am, anong gagawin namin? Huwag ka matatakot doon. Ipipray natin. Alam niyo, children, katulad na, there are 3 members of the Board of Examiners, no? Yung ating pong chairman of the board, part po siya nung former Board of Examiners team. 2 po ang bago. So, huwag tayo matatakot doon. We will pray, lahat tayo magdadasal, di ba? That we will have the meeting of the minds. Pag sinabing meeting of the minds, masasagot natin lahat ng questions nila. At saka huwag ka matatakot doon, children. Bakit? Kung ano yung book na binasa mo, doon din sila kukuha ng question. Binasa mo bang buong buo si Harmony, si Strassinger, si Rodak, si Stevens, si Bishop, si Henrys, yung medtech laws ni Sir Nardito Moraleta, Turgeon, serology, immunology. Naku, yung mga mata nyo, nakikita ko, ano po yun? Libro yun, mga kapatid. Mom, hindi ko po sila binasa. Oh, ba? Relax ka lang, relax. Okay, kaya natin yan. Going back, what are the components of the analytical method? Reagents. Ano pa? Equipment. Ano pa? Procedure. Again, reagents. Ano pa? Equipment. Ano pa? Procedure. Mom, are you telling us the reagent should be sensitive and specific? Of course. That the equipment should be sensitive and specific? Of course. And the procedure should be sensitive and specific? Yes. Kung gusto mong i-measure ang glucose and you are using an analyzer, a fully automated chemistry machine, and the request is glucose, fasting blood glucose, and you're going to press glucose in the monitor, yung machine mismo, manood kayo ng mga YouTube guys sa clinical chemistry machine, pinress yung glucose icon. Ma'am, dapat glucose lang po i-measure ng equipment. That is specificity. Not only that, it should measure the smallest concentration of the glucose in that sample. That is the meaning of sensitivity. Ito, may question ako sa inyo. Which of the routine analytes in clinical chemistry, routine, take note, hindi ako magbibigay ng choices. Which of the routine analytes in clinical chemistry, routine the concentration, the physiologic concentration, starts with 0 milligram per deciliter. Mag-iisip ko, ma'am, ang reference value niya, 0 milligram per deciliter ang start? Yes. And the reagent should be sensitive enough to measure 0 milligram per deciliter. 10 seconds. 0 0 ang milligram per deciliter, normal result yun. Pag 0 ang na-measure mo, normal, excellent, Carlos Katrina. Anong answer ni Carlos Katrina? Bilirubin. I am a very specific professor, Mr. Carlos Katrina. Kung face-to-face ngayon sinagot mo bilirubin, I will have a follow-up question. Pero wag ka matatakot. Guys, kahit mali, sana lahat kayo ng mga hindi naglalagay sa chat box, you should answer my question before we provided the answers. Kailangan may sagot ka. Sayang ang pakikinig mo guys sa review if you are just a passive listening. Ay, anong sagot? Ay, bilirubin. Ay, anong sagot? Ay, kailangan may answer ka din. And you have to check if your answer is correct. Ngayon yung best time para i-test mo yan 2 months before the board exam. Carlos Katrina, excellent, bilirubin. But I am a very specific professor. Which form of bilirubin The concentration in normal blood starts with 0. Hindi ako magbibigay ng choices anong forms ng bilirubin niya. But there is one bilirubin, form of bilirubin, that the concentration truly starts with 0. That's why it requires a very sensitive analyte. Excellent, Aliza Bacayana. Anong answer ni Aliza Bacayana and Raymark Magleo? They both answered direct bilirubin. Isn't it that direct bilirubin is 0 to 0.2 milligram per deciliter? And indirect bilirubin or the unconjugated bilirubin or the B1 is 0.2 to 0.8 milligram per deciliter. It is 0.2 to 0.8 milligram per deciliter. That's why the maximum total bilirubin reference limit maximum is 1.0 milligram per deciliter. Ma'am, bakit po ang direct bilirubin starts with 0? We will discuss it when we move to bilirubin. So therefore, what are the components of analytical method? Reagent. Ano pa, children? Equipment. Ano pa, children? Procedure. Alin dapat ang sensitive? Yung analytical method. Ano yon? Reagent. Ano pa? Equipment. Ano pa? Procedure. Ano dapat ang specific? If the reagent bottle says uric acid, that reagent should only measure uric acid. How do you call that? Specificity. If let's say, for example, that is a multi-analyzer with hundreds and more than 100 tests, and you press the button uric acid, of course, that equipment should only measure uric acid using the uric acid reagent. How do we call that equipment? It's specific. And the procedure should also be sensitive and specific. Accuracy means what? Huwag mong kalilimutan yan. What factor in clinical chemistry? Lab should be sensitive and specific. The reagent, the equipment, and the procedure. You put them all together. That is the analytical method. Accuracy is the nearness or closeness of the assayed value to the target value. Wala na tayong pagtatalunan pa doon. 100 ang target value. Ay dapat 99 ang assayed value mo because that is accuracy. What is precision? Take note of the other name of precision, children. Anong other name niya? Reproducibility. Hindi mo pa tinitignan yung definition, may answer na tayo, children. Ano daw ibig sabihin ng precision? Reproducibility. Question. What factor in the entire clinical chemistry lab should be reproducible? What is our answer there? The analytical method. My goodness gracious. Tingnan mo yung book mo, guys, nakalagay analytical method. What do you mean by this? What do you mean by analytical method? Guys, what factor in the whole clinical chemistry lab should be precise? That is analytical method because it says there, precision or reproducibility is the ability of what? The ability of the analytical method, which means the reagent, which means the equipment, and that is the procedure also. The ability of the analytical method to give repeated result. That's why it is reproducible. Underline the word repeated. It is the ability of the analytical method to give repeated result on the same sample, and the repeated result to be considered precise should agree with one another. Ibig sabihin, children, ano daw ang example ng reproducibility? Okay, so binigyan ka ng example, guys. Huwag kang matatakot pag maraming numbers. Kayang-kaya mo mag-top 1. Okay? Oops! Nakalagay dito, guys, there was a serum sample, isa lang. There was a serum sample, and the instruction of the medical technologist was to measure the serum sample 5 times. Anong tawag doon sa ginagawang yon? Precision test. Because you are going to measure the serum sample 5 times. Oops! After 5 times measurement, siyempre tatanungin mo, ma'am, ilang machine po ang ginamit 5 times measure? Isa lang. One and the same equipment. Ma'am, ilang reagents po ang ginamit? Isang bata lang. One and the same brand of reagent. Ay, hindi po nagpalit ng brand ng reagent, ma'am. Ay, hindi po. Hindi po nagpalit ma'am ng brand ng equipment. Hindi po. Ilang sample dito? Isa. Ilang equipment? Isa. Ilang reagent? One and the same. Procedure? One and the same. Then that is a reproducibility test. Because reproducibility is the ability of the analytical method to give repeated results, 76.6 up to 76.5, and you would only say precise if the repeated results agree with one another. So kung titignan mo itong examples na to children, anong answer natin dito? Precise. Values are precise. Values are reproducible. Do not forget the children, ha? Ma'am, pag tinanong po ako sa board exam, ang tanong po tungkol sa reproducibility, anong nasa mind ko? Repeated values. Ano pang nasa mind ko, ma'am? Precision. Ano pa po ang nasa tatandaan ko, ma'am? It is a parameter in quality control. So what is the short definition of precision? Closeness of assayed values. Write it, please. Ano ang short definition ng precision? Closeness of assayed values. Ma'am, bakit mo po ina-emphasize with S? Because these are repeated values. Closeness of assayed values. Do not forget that. Next, we have the kinds of quality control. Page 3. Ay, madali lang ito, children. Dalawa lang naman ang klase ng quality control sa clinical chem. Okay? Alam nyo, sakit na naman ang eyeglasses ko. Matatawa kayo sa gagawin ko, pero ayokong gawin yung nakakatawa. Magpapalit ako ng salamin ko. Okay. That's it. This is better. Better than this one. Alam mo, hindi ko na talaga gagamitin to forever. Ang sakit sa mata. Let's go back. Nakikita ko pa rin naman. Wait lang. Kasi guys, nagkasugat ako dito. Nakapansin nyo ba? Dark yung dito ko. Nagkasugat siya sa eyeglasses ko. Pwede bang i-shout out nyo dito? Anong pangtanggal sa mark ng eyeglasses? Paki-post it nga dito sa... Nagkaka-problem ako dyan. Sobrang sakit guys. Na-irritate na siya. Nagka-dark na siya. Okay. Okay. Ma'am, hindi po yan kasama sa board exam. Hindi. Nakwento ko lang. Okay, going back. Yung mga may eyeglasses dyan, pa-shout out ha. I will remove that. Yung irritation sa eyeglasses ko guys. So, tignan mo, nag-dark dito. Yan, children, tignan mo. I will remove that. Ang ginagawa ko, nilalagyan ko siya ng tissue, ganito. Ay, kaya lang may lecture ako dito sa Ryan, alam mo, maglagay ako ng tissue. Naglalagay. O, ang pangit, di ba? So, I'm gonna remove it, ganyan. So, going back, there are only two kinds of quality control, okay? We have the intra-lab QC, also known as internal QC. What do you mean by intra-lab quality control or internal quality control? Children, it means, ito yung sinabi ko kanina. Diba, sabi ko guys, every time you process a human sample in clinical chemistry, there should be control samples. Because control samples will tell you there is accuracy and precision. And intra-lab QC or internal quality control, it means analysis of control samples. Oh my God, really? Thank you so much, Valerie Amor. There is a small pad for glass. My God! Really? Thank you so much, Miss Valerie Amor Esteliore. Same po tayo. No? Same daw kami ng problem ni Miss Valerie. Di ba? Tingnan mo, ihaw ang pangit. Alam mo, pagkatapos ng lecture natin, Miss Valerie, I will buy it. Thank you so much, Iha. Thank you for sharing. Sabi ko na nga, dito ako makakapagtanong sa lecture ko. Oh my God. Anong title niya? Anong title niya, Miss Valerie? Anong pangalan niya? Small pad for glasses. Ganun, bibiling ko. Small pad for glasses. I will buy it. Promise. It's so effective, Miss Valerie Amor. It's so effective. Talagang dito nagkwentuhan, ano? Talagang... Sorry, sir, ano ha? Sir Moraleta, kasi talaga nagka-problem ako talaga. Meron po sa Shopee, sabi rin ni Carlos Katrina. Thank you so much, Carlos Katrina, also same with Valerie Amor. Helpful naman po siya. Okay, I'm gonna buy Valerie and Carlos. Thank you for sharing. It's so Jurassic. Just ko. Okay, atin naman, it's because of my glasses. Going back, guys, In-explain ko na sa internal QC. Anong sabihin ng internal quality control? Every time you process a human sample, kahit ano pang human sample yan sa Chem, there should be control samples. And how do you call that type of quality control wherein there should be control samples in every testing? Internal quality control. Ops, what is the purpose of internal QC? Daily monitoring of accuracy and precision. It is not just daily, per test monitoring, every analytical run monitoring. Every time you process a sample, human sample, there should be control samples. That is internal quality control. What is the purpose? To say and to validate that there is truly accuracy and precision, because we are not allowed to release any single patient chemistry result without ensuring that there are control samples when you process the human sample. What else? Ops, may question. Ma'am, nakalagay dyan, daily monitoring of accuracy and precision. Check. Alin ba dapat, ma'am, ang accurate and precise sa clinical chemistry section? Alin doon, ma'am, dapat ang accurate and precise? The analytical methods. So you mean, ma'am, the reagent, the equipment, and the procedures should be monitored before we process the patient samples, before we process the patient samples, the reagents that will be used for the test, the machine, the robotics that will be used for measurement of the samples in clinical chemistry, and the procedures, whether it is a manual procedure or it is a mechanical automated procedure, they should be validated using control samples before you process before you process the patient samples. Yes. Next question. So ang tanong, ma'am, ano pong sample ang dapat po namin gamitin if we would like to validate and check the accuracy and precision of the reagents of the machines in chemistry and the procedures that we will use before we process the patient sample? What is the sample that should be used? Ano answer natin, children? Excellent, Naomi Pompa. The control samples. Ibig mong sabihin, ma'am, the control samples are truly quality control reagents. Actually, ang tawag sa control samples, quality control samples. Kaya lang, bakit pag ginamit mo quality control reagents? Because there are other books that would say quality control reagents. Para ma-validate yung nabasa mo na tama din yun. Pero ang common term talaga, quality control samples. Take note of that, quality control samples. So you mean, ma'am, the purpose of the control samples are also to monitor the accuracy and precision of analytical methods, reagents, equipment, and procedures. Truly, children, if the reagents and machines and procedures are all unreliable, then we are not allowed to process any human sample. And what is the sample that will tell you and me that this machine, this equipment, and this reagent and this procedure are all unreliable? The control samples. Take note. Oh, alam ko na nagtatanong ko, bakit hindi standard sample? Because control samples resemble the human serum. In other words, all the analytes present in control samples are the same biochemical analytes present in human sample. So if you would like to check the machine and the reagents that you will use for human serum, we should use the sample that resembles the human serum. What is the answer? Control samples. That's why the control samples are the samples that will validate analytical methods. Well, anong purpose ng internal QC pa din? To detect analytical errors, random and systematic errors within a 1-week cycle. Oh my God, do not forget that. Guys, pag may mga color yan, daily monitoring, importante yan. In-underline ni Madam, Importante yan. Ma'am, ibig sabihin po ang internal QC, 1-week cycle check. You're doing this every day. It won't stop after 7 days. It won't stop after 7 days. It is continuous, but the interpretation of results, it requires at least 7 days to have a better interpretation. So therefore, ano nga ang purpose ng internal QC? To monitor analytical methods. Ano pang purpose ng internal QC? To identify analytical errors during the testing. Anong analytical errors, Sean? Random and systematic. To ensure, take note, better interpretation of internal QC. How many days are needed? At least 7 days. What is the primary role of internal QC? To ensure release of current patient results. Again, what is the primary role of internal quality control? Why are we doing internal QC? To ensure release of current patient results. And these patient results are reliable. What else? What is interlab QC, also known as external quality control? Sometimes ang tawag nila external quality assurance. Kaya lang guys, it is more on external quality control because quality control is different from quality assurance. Quality control is part of quality assurance. Let me say that again. Quality control is part of quality assurance. Eh, ba't nilagay mo po dyan external QA? Kasi minsan, lalo na sa international certification exam, ang tawag nila external quality assurance. But actually, it is external QC. So, huwag ka malilito guys ha. External quality control is inside quality assurance. Quality control is inside quality assurance. This is a proficiency testing program. Oops. Internal QC, intralab, daily monitoring of analytical methods. To monitor accuracy and precision. Sandali lang guys, may interruption. I should answer this. This is my son. Wait lang.